Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back to another December daily video. So it's actually been a while. I'm recording this and it is well into 2019. In fact, it is May 4th, which is kind of crazy. I usually try and get my albums done before this, but I am determined to get this finished by the time next week comes around. And I have a lot of my photos printed, so I should be able to just crank them out. All right, so I just want to show you where I left off. I guess if you're just watching these in YouTube, you won't notice the time difference like you would if you were watching them live. But this was this was day 21, and then I was going to put day 22 here. My idea was actually, and I'm just going to show you really quick, to do this map. And I used all these little geotags, and I had them set up. And this was all the places that we went shopping. You know, I had them laid out of all the last minute shopping and all the places that we went like that last week in December. And my idea was to have this be day 22. But I kept not getting the journaling done, and now it's been so long that I really can't remember, which is super sad because I didn't like write it all down. So I'm going to scrap this idea, and what I actually decided to do, in fact, Week in the Life is next week, and I just recently decided that I'm going to do a physical kit. So I'm going to save this printed map that I used for Week in the Life. So I'm actually not going to throw this away. I am going to use it, and maybe I will do something like that next year in my December daily, or maybe I won't because I'm doing it in Week in the Life. I can't decide if that's too many maps, but I always really love this idea for travel albums. I've done it several times in my project life and in my travel album, but I thought it'd be fun in December daily. But I'm actually going to do it in Week in the Life, and I'm excited to see all the places that we go that week. All right, so this actually says 23, and I have created day whatever. This is supposed to be day 23, but I've created something that's going to go on the back of this piece of paper here. So I'm going to have to redo this tag, and instead of 23, I'll probably just flip it over. Oh, it has 23 on the back. I'll just make a new one and stamp it that says 22, and that'll be super easy. So that'll be day 22, and this is going to be day 23. So maybe in YouTube, it'll say 2 days of 23. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but because I think that was already on, that's already on YouTube. So anyway, I saw on Allie's website, I was kind of looking at some of her templates that she has. I can't remember what year it was. It was a few years ago, maybe 2016, that she had. It was a 6x8 piece of paper, some journaling, and then some smaller photos on the side. And so I thought that I would do that for this. This was our Christmas Eve celebration. And yes, I'm doing it on day 23 because I have another photo that I want to use for day 24. This one I'll show you. Like I said, I have it all printed out. So this one was for day 24. That was also on Christmas Eve. So you know what? We are just going to make it work, right? It doesn't, you know me, it doesn't, I don't feel like it has to be the exact day or, you know, whatever. So we're just making it work, you guys.
All right, you guys, so let's jump into this. I cannot have you watching this live or, you know, at full speed because it would take forever. So I am speeding this up some, obviously. So these photos are 2 inches and just a little over 3 inches. And I was just able to figure that out based on either the file I used or how I set it up in Photoshop. Now, I can't remember if I used one of Allie Edwards' digital files from December Daily, or if I just got this, if I saw this layout in one of her December dailies and so decided to create my own. I think I got the file though, if I remember right. So it's super easy to put something like this together if you had more or less journaling. You know, you can decide how large you want your photos to be, or if you just wanted like one big large photo instead of multiple photos, you could have done that as well. You can see actually when I start putting this together that one of my photos is actually just cut in half because I wanted it to look like 4 different photos, but one of them I decided to cut in half So it's the top of the image and the bottom of the image, but you can tell that they go together. I think I end up putting them in the middle. So I really love how that worked out there. You can see that I'm going to start laying out the images, and I do end up cutting off me adhering them down because my head just keeps getting in the way, and I do apologize for that my head keeps getting in the way there. I needed to cut a little bit more off of the bottom just so that they had a little bit more space in between, so I just went ahead and did that. So you can see that photo in the top is one photo that I just ended up cutting in half, and I love the way that looked. I could have left it as one photo, like a 3x4 is kind of what it would look like, but man, I just really love how that turned out. So you saw that I actually adhered it on to the back, and I did that by cutting off two sides, the top and the side, and then I adhered it down, and then I cut off the excess. I find that to be the easiest way to make sure that I get it on without having any spaces, because I don't always cut exactly how it's, exactly perfect. So it's nice to kind of have some overhang so that you can cut some off so that they will be aligned perfectly. And then I just went ahead and I punched some holes. So there was already holes in there. So I just needed to re-punch those holes. And now I'm working on the number. So that tree came from either the 2017 or the 2018 December Daily kit. I think it was 2017, but I can't remember exactly. And you can see that my stash off to the side. So that's just kind of how I store it when it's not December. And then I used those number stickers of Ali Edwards. They came in a pack, and I'm telling you, this pack is totally worth it. If not for December Daily, because I think it's totally worth it for December Daily, but all of your other projects that you're working on, these small numbers are awesome. So if she has something like that on her shop, I will definitely link to it, but it's worth getting. You'll definitely see me pull those out for December Daily this year because there's just so many colors and so many options. All right, you guys, so now I'm done with story 23, and you can see just how easy that was to put together. It really just needed a story, some photos, and my computer, right? And a little bit of glue and tape or whatever. Now I'm moving on to story 24, and this one's going to be a little bit more complicated and a little bit more involved. So I just want to show you that you can make December Daily as easy as you want, and you can make it a little bit more complicated if you want. So I'm going to show you a little bit of both. So jumping right into story 24. So the cards that I was fiddling with, these cards are from the Crepe Paper Merry Days, and there was a card pack that I bought because I like sending cards. And so I thought that it would be fun to have kind of a Christmassy set because I'm not really making many Christmas cards these days. So when I got looking at them, I was like, you know what, this could actually be a really cute, like fold out kind of a thing, in my December Daily. And I love to have some interaction in my December Daily. So I was like, perfect. I think I'm going to find a way to do it. And so I grabbed two cards that I thought would really work together. And I'm just kind of fiddling with them to figure out how they best fit or how I would like them to fit in my album. And you saw that I made a little white piece that had some of the holes in it. And I did that because I can't punch holes in the actual cards because then it wouldn't open up. So I have to make something for it to sit on so that I can turn the page, but I can still open up the cards so you can still see the photos. So hopefully that is making sense. I'm sure it's making sense as you're watching me put it together. So basically all I did is just kind of fold both of those on top of one another, so one of them's inside the other one. And then there was room on the back side for me then to add that white piece in the back where it's connected then to the album. And now I'm going to cut up my photo. So my photo is probably 5.5 inches in height, and I can't remember how long those cards are, but I really just measured the cards, and I'm only going to be putting photos on the first two sections. So I didn't need the whole thing, but if you wanted to have photos going all the way across, then you could make your photo a little bit bigger or a little bit longer. So you just need to tailor it for what you want. But if you're going to do something like this, you don't necessarily have to use like pre-made cards. You could just make it out of your own cardstock. So there's an option there. And so you can just measure out the cards that you're using or the cardstock that you're using to kind of figure out what you need. So now I need to cut up that photo. And so I just I didn't eyeball it. I did make a mark so I knew where to cut it. But keeping in mind when you're assembling this, that the photos add a bit of bulk. And so enable for this card then to fold down instead of pop up in the album, because you kind of want it to lay flat. You're going to need to cut the photo so there's a little bit of white space in between where the fold is. So you're not going to be able to have these photos butting up next to one another, if that makes sense. And you'll kind of see that I'll leave like a white gutter in between the photos. And that way it's allowing the card to fold in half and not to bulk up, because if I didn't leave a space, then it wouldn't properly fold down all the way. So that's why I end up leaving that white space. I think if you were maybe using cardstock or something that was not as thick, because this photo paper is a little bit thick, then maybe you could have less of a white space in there. But I think you're going to need to have a little bit of white space just so that it will fold down. It's something you'll probably just have to experiment with. All right, so I've got my photos in place, and I do already have my journaling all done, but you'll see that when I'll bring it over in just a minute. But I'm going to I think I'm going to deal with the front side now, kind of figure out what I want to do with the front. So a couple things that I need to consider. I need to consider where I'm going to put the number. So that's something that I always think about when it comes to my story or the day, is where I'm going to put the number. So I'm grabbing over these Ali Edwards numbers again. Like I said, really love these, grabbing the red ones. And one thing that I think is so awesome about this is how many numbers come on the sheet. So you feel like, you can totally use them, right? Sometimes I feel like we hoard things because there's only one or two. We got to wait for the perfect moment, right? But there's so many numbers, got to use them, right? Got to use them all. So figuring out that's where I want to put the 24, and you'll see in the end that I actually end up changing that. Spoiler alert. So I'm just kind of looking through some of my supplies to see maybe what else I would like to add. And I noticed that I don't know what to call it. I guess we'll call it a tab. So the tab on the end, it was just really white and it didn't really go. It just was kind of bugging me. So I grabbed over this washi that it's pretty transparent, but it has the red stars on there. So it's going to look white with red based on the cardstock that I'm using. And so I'm just laying it out there onto the tab, and then I'm going to end up taking the whole thing out just so it's easier to cut off that washi. Should have done that from the beginning. So keep that in mind. You could use a pattern paper. I use cardstock because it's a little bit thicker than pattern paper, but you could double up the pattern paper, or, use washi like I did, or even stamp on it or something like that. There's tons of different ways to make this tab like colorful and things like that. You could even like round the corners if you wanted to. So I just ended up sticking it back in. I love this tape that I think it's permanent, but it does allow you to kind of move things around if it hasn't been too long. I could be lying about that, but it tends to stay in place. I never have an issue with it staying in place. And then it allows me to be able to like move things around if I need to without really ruining the paper too badly. So I like that tape a lot. I'll have it linked below if you're interested. All right, so now I've decided that I want to add some of these little ephemera tags to this wreath. So you guys, if you've seen any of my December daily videos, you know from 2018 that I loved this Merry Days collection, and I love these little ephemera tags and all these little ephemera bits. So I did them several times in my album, and I kept saying to myself, oh, I already did that. I can't do it again. And you know what? No, that's not true. Like if you want to have ephemera tags on every day, you can have ephemera tags on every day. I'm just telling you, like for some reason I was limiting myself, and I didn't have to limit myself. Like I could do whatever I wanted. I could have an entire album made out of cards if I wanted to, right? So it's just whatever you want. And it makes my album feel like there is some cohesion to it when, there's some similar elements in it, right? So I have these ephemera pieces and I grabbed over this very small hole punch. I think it's like a 1/16 inch hole punch. It's really small. You can see that I'm even having some trouble with this twine. You can see this twine came from May Arts and it is just a natural colored twine. So I cut a hole in each of those pieces and then I cut a hole in the card just right there where the ribbon is, you know, so it kind of looks like it's going to be on the wreath. And then I'm just going to tie that up into a bow. And I'm not going to worry about the inside because I do have some journaling. You can see the journaling just at the very top. I'll pull it down in just a minute. That is going to actually cover up the inside where that twine is. So I don't have to worry about that. And you can see I also took off the 24 because I put the date on that Avery tab on the side. And so I don't need to have 24 and have the date. Now I could have left the 24 and put like some text or like a little word or something on the tab, but I just decided to take the 24 off. All right, another thing that I decided to do, and I gotta admit, I'm not 100% sure. When I punched that circle out of the photo and I folded it down and then you could see the photo on the back side, I have to admit, I was kind of bummed that I did it, but it's fine. I just did it because I thought it would be easier to open up and kind of be like a little like a interesting element to it, but it's not a big deal. You know, I don't love how it looked, but it's fine. All right, so I'm moving on to my journaling. Sorry, I got caught up in that, thinking about that. And I decided that I wanted to do some gold in that quote. I thought that would look really cool. And so I think this is like champagne or gold matte foil for the mink. So I'm just pulling over my mink machine and then I'm going to run it through my mink machine so that that quote is going to be in gold. And one thing that I have found with the mink machine, if you don't cover up all of the ink, it actually comes off onto the plastic and it rubs off. It actually rubs off onto the paper a little bit too, but I'm trying to protect my plastic sheets. So that's why I added that text paper on top of it. So if it does come off, it'll come off on that paper so that I can just throw it away. And you can see that now I'm just looking over what I made to make sure that everything's in its right place. Oh, you know what I figured out as I was kind of moving it back and forth? That date on the back side was upside down. So I just took it out, ripped them apart, and then put them back in correctly. So super easy change. Not that big of a deal. So, but I am going to get back to the journaling and you can see that I think it looks really good. I do. I like it. And I actually like it with the photo because it looks like there's a lot of gold in the photo. But for whatever reason, on May 4th, when I created this, I didn't love the gold. And I decided to do red instead. So I reprinted it so that it was, red on the top instead of gold. I'm a little, I don't know. I like them both. I got to admit, I like them both. And maybe I thought that the gold was a little hard to read because I'm feeling like in the video it's a little hard to read, but they were both good. This is one of those decisions that you can't go wrong. And so I probably just should use the gold because then it took more time to turn it to red and then print it out again, right? And then cut it out and all that. But anyway, not a big deal. I'm getting totally lost in these details that you probably could care less about. But anyways, one thing that I will mention that is probably details that you could care less about is you saw my camera. It was actually week in the life, I think, when I was working on this. Yeah, I think it was week in the life. So I was taking pictures of working on this project. So, I had it for week in the life. Just a interesting thing to note that's what I was doing on this particular day, taking photos, besides working on this project, right? Okay, so because I had already put down that Avery tab on the side, I had kind of already adhered it down on the inside at least. I wasn't able to cut off the edge just with my scissors, kind of like I'm doing now on that edge where the Avery tab is. So I just kind of had to mark it off and then cut it and cross my fingers that I was, not cutting too much off, but it actually worked out really well. And it's probably hard to see, but I did have to leave a little bit of space just so, again, it would fold properly and it would kind of lay flat. So anyway, you guys, that is it for day 24. I love how it turned out. I love how day 23 turned out also. That's a little bit more simple. Day 24 is a little bit more complicated. Love them both. Super happy with this. You guys, I have one day left. Right now, as I'm recording this, it is in the very end of August. I think today's the 29th. And I'm going to finish my December daily before Allie comes out with her new 2019 kit. So that is my goal. I have all the photos done. I just need to put it together. So that's my goal for the next few days. Anyway, you guys, you are so awesome for being here. And I really hope that this is getting you guys excited for December daily that is coming up in just a few short months. Like I said, Allie is going to be rolling out her December daily kit on September 5th. So that's next week, and she's going to be showing everything, I believe, on her blog tomorrow. So hopefully this video actually will be out tomorrow too. So maybe it'll be out today. Anyway, you guys, visit Allie's blog and check out all the supplies for next year. I'm really excited to see what she has in store because I've really enjoyed the sneak peeks that have been on Instagram. If you guys have any questions about what I created today, please ask them and I will definitely get back to you. Also, if you have not yet subscribed but want to see my other videos like December Daily, which I will definitely be doing, and I will definitely be doing a walkthrough of my December Daily when it is done, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Thank you again for being here and we will see you in the next one. Bye.